If there's going to be a resolution, of course, it's going to come in front of the Congress to support.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand.
I appreciate his statement that this has been bipartisan thus far. I think this is an opportunity for this committee to demonstrate that we can work together in a bipartisan way. This is a bipartisan issue. Every Republican I know in Congress wants the Epstein files to be released. Every Republican in Congress I know wants the people that were trafficking women to be held accountable. Every single Republican I know wants the government officials who were involved in any potential cover-up or blackmail operation, if there was one, to be outed and held accountable. So we're going to try to do everything we can to get this, and I think we've demonstrated that. I'm a Republican. We subpoenaed Bill Barr. We subpoenaed Alex Acosta. We've subpoenaed Pam Bondi for the Epstein documents. I don't remember when I was in the minority, a Democrat chairman subpoenaed any Democrat officials in the administration. So we've demonstrated we don't care about political party. We don't care about what your last name is. We don't care how powerful you are. We want to know the truth, and we're doing everything we can, and I hope that the Democrats will work with us in this endeavor and not politicize it.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I was in that hearing for the meeting with the victims today, and I appreciated very much, Mr. Garcia, what you said about this being a bipartisan effort and there being so many Democrat members there. But I also agree that there hasn't been this level of interest in this issue before.
Right.
I've been here a long time.
It dates back, what we learned from today, it dates back to 96. It dates back six prior administrations. So there have been many other administrations that could have released it and for whatever reason hasn't. But thus far, this administration is producing documents like we've asked, and I appreciate that.
Right. So you've stated a little bit already, the information that you've already received from the Trump administration after the subpoena for the records was executed, and how quickly the committee started receiving the information.
Yeah, as soon as the subpoena went out, we heard from the Department of Justice. Their attorneys started communicating with our attorneys, and they started gathering the documents, and I think we got the documents in record time. I can't remember a time when we subpoenaed the Merrick Garland Department of Justice and never got anything from them. So I applaud the Pam Bondi and the Trump administration for working with the committee and for being transparent.
And as you just mentioned, there have been times when you have requested information. I can remember I'd been here 3 months and I was on the Oversight Committee, on a subcommittee, and we had a bureaucrat come in, and the chairman of the committee said, I've asked you for 3 years to give us information. and the person just sat there.
Yeah.
And wouldn't say a word and wouldn't respond in any way. Wouldn't you rather have a subpoena in hand above everything else, even a law passed by Congress?
Absolutely.
Which can be challenged in court immediately to get this information?
Absolutely. We're doing what that discharge petition wants done. And we're 3 steps ahead of that discharge petition. We've already deposed former Attorney General Bill Barr. We've already subpoenaed the estate, the Epstein estate, for all the documents.
And
We've
you said
already subpoenaed.
September 8th, the material would come from them?
I'm sorry?
You said the Epstein estate is going to start producing material?
September 8th. September 8th, they're going to produce the documents from the estate. I believe September the 16th or 19th one, Alex Acosta's coming in for a deposition. And I know that during our discussion, Ms. Crockett and Raj Krishnamurti, I believe, asked questions about what we should ask Acosta. So everybody, both sides are going to get equal time to interview Acosta on all of that. And again, the administration has complied with our request, and
Brian is the best content marketing team lead I've ever worked with, but before he created his content calendar using Monday.
because that discharge petition was filed 6 weeks ago. We've already deposed, again, the former Attorney General. We've got dates set for others to come in. We're downloading 34,000 pages of documents. We met with the victims today and got more names that they said in front of the minority, and we're going to press forward with that. So we're way ahead of this discharge petition. I don't think it's necessary at all.
And and you are going to be in a very unique position of being the arbiter of any needed redactions, keeping that decision in the hands of members of Congress, correct?
Correct. And there were, one of the victims today made it very clear she didn't want her name, made public. Others said they were willing to let their names be public and were willing to testify in a public hearing. And so, you have to know, you have to have, grant privacy rights to the victims. Some of the victims want their names out there, and some want their names to be redacted.
And it's my understanding that was not sufficiently taken care of.
That's correct.
In the Massey legislation.
That's correct. And I also want to mention that Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, sat through the whole meeting today with the victims, the entire 2.5-hour discussion we had, bipartisan discussion.
And what I heard from the victims was that they feel for the first time that they're being heard.
They feel that they're being heard, but they made it very clear they don't have a lot of trust in anyone affiliated with the government because they believe that their government has let them down. And the timeline of that would date over both Republican and Democrat administrations in the past.
Correct. So let me see if I can put all this together. You believe a formalized investigation by the House is the best path forward to obtain the records and disclose them to the people.
Yes.
You've made a commitment, and our resolution
Then he issued, that was in 2024, and then 2025, he says, it's all a big hoax. It's perpetrated by Democrats and some stupid Republicans. That's his quote verbatim. So when you say all Republicans want this stuff released, I don't think that guy does.
That's right.
And what you're telling us that you're going to release some of the files tonight, if I heard Mr. Garcia correctly, 97% of which is already out in public. So we get 3% that's new. I don't know what it's going to say. But I just don't understand what the big deal is. Why can't the administration just release the files? You could do the investigation, but just release all the files. You know, Trump and the people he put in charge of the FBI and the DOJ promised that they would. And it's just kind of strange that they haven't done so yet. I mean, don't you think? I mean, we just want to know, what are they trying to hide? Why is this such a difficult thing for them to do? You know, before we left for recess, you guys all told us that you wanted to release the files and that a non-binding resolution authored by Mr. Norman was an important step forward to getting the Epstein files released. Why hasn't that been called up yet? Mr. Scott had the authority to do so for weeks. He could do so this week. Hasn't done it. I don't know why not. Maybe Mr. Norman can explain to us why his Epstein resolution never made it to the floor. Maybe Mr. Scott can tell us why, would like to share with us why he decided not to call up the rule for its consideration when it was well within his power to do so. But honestly, the answers they give really don't matter, because the resolution was nothing more than a distraction to buy time. And I think we're doing the same again today. But today's resolution is even worse. At least Mr. Norman's do-nothing resolution had a deadline of 30 days. If I'm reading your resolution correctly, there's no deadline. It's just an open-ended distraction with the same goal. Protect the powerful, hide the files, and buy some time for people to forget. So, you know, all that has to happen for the files to be released is one thing. The Trump administration needs to release them. That is all. And if that's too complicated for some Republicans to get their arms around, that's okay, because they're in luck. Someone has already done the work for them, because there is a bipartisan bill offered by Mr. Massey and Mr. Khanna that would force the administration to release the Epstein files while protecting the victims. And Mr. Comer, just for the record, I think you're not in support of the Massey-Khanna bill, but let me ask you formally, I mean, do you support the Massey-Khanna bill to release the Epstein files?
We're doing that as we speak. And you said some of the documents were going to be released. All 34,000 documents will be online, hopefully in the next 5 minutes, if they're not now.
Yeah, but 97% of which we've already seen. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, first, appreciate the comments, but we should be clear. I mean, if it's true, as the chairman said, that every Republican supports disclosure around the Epstein files, then every Republican should sign the discharge petition from Congressman Khanna and Congressman Massey. There's no question. And the key difference in that petition as well is that petition ensures, one, that members of Congress are all on the record on releasing the files, and two, that petition, as you have in front of you, also ensures that the files actually go to the American public, that they're actually released to the public. I appreciate that the subpoena that we forced a vote on is going to our committee, and it's important work. Most of the documents that were sent to our committee, those initial documents were given to right-wing influencers back in February. The files and the full report, according to the Attorney General, were sitting on her desk ready to be released. We know that the Attorney General herself has shared with the President directly that he is also in the files. The reason, and we don't understand why this cover-up by the President continues to not release the full files. And so the discharge petition is an important additional step forward for the Congress, the full Congress, to be on record to release the full files. And so that piece is important. And it's clear that, well, maybe there are some Republicans in Congress, and hopefully all, that want to see disclosure. That is not the case with the Republicans in the White House and the Department of Justice.
So 7 months to get released, 97% of which already been released. But again, Mr. Comer, I mean, do you support the Massey-Khanna resolution, yes or no?
We're already doing it. And let me say,
No, it's a
Mr. No,
simple
the
yes or no
discharge
answer.
petition does not have the
You-
force of law. We've already
you can-
subpoenaed.
You can begin by
look,
saying no, and I'll let you. and
No,
you can
look,
answer or
Mr.
yes,
McGovern, it's very
and you can answer.
disappointing that you're trying to politicize this. We're trying to get answers.
Let me
We're
reclaim
trying
my
to do
time.
everything that's in this discharge
me-
petition,
I'm gonna-
but you're trying to politicize
No,
it.
no, it's a yes or no question. It's not a trick question. I mean, do you think?
We've already
do you
done
think-
what
do
the
you think
discharge petition's
Do you
asking.
think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become
The
law? which
bill
would-
has
excuse me,
no
I'm
force of
speaking.
law.
I have-
It has
I have
no
the time.
force of the law.
Yeah.
You're just
No,
trying to do
we're
a
talking
political
about-
stunt.
Look, ask the question, Mr. McGovern, let him answer.
Well, I was asking a question, he interrupted me.
Okay, let,
It's a simple yes or no question. Simple yes or no question. Do you
We're
support-
already doing it.
All right, well, that's not a yes or no, but do you think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become law, which would require the release of all the files?
It doesn't have the force of the law. It's just a political stunt. It's just a political stunt, and you
This
know.
is a resolution. The counter is a Massey counter bill would become law. If all you Republicans want everything released, then, you know, you could vote for it, and then if he decides to veto it, you could override the veto.
The subpoena goes further than the discharge petition. Discharge petition is just a political stunt. Just a political stunt.
All right, so you're,
And look, we have done everything bipartisan in this investigation. This is an opportunity. And I think most of the Democrats on the Oversight Committee want to be bipartisan in this, Mr. McGovern.
so you're not going to answer my question, but look, we're meeting here under an emergency procedure to consider this resolution, which, if I'm reading it right, simply tells your committee to continue doing what you're doing. Do you need this resolution to continue doing what you're doing, Mr. Garcia? I mean,
We don't, the resolution as presented is not necessary. Again, we want disclosure, we want the files released, but what should have happened is we should vote on the discharge petition and move it forward and then continue our work. Can I say one more thing, Mr. Ranking Member? I also want to be clear that the DOJ has not been forthcoming or presented everything that we've asked for in the subpoena. And I think it's important that even in our recent interaction with the DOJ, they're essentially now not giving us any new additional information as to when we're receiving the rest of the files. And so having Congress act and taking a vote on the full release of the files is an important additional step, which is why the discharge petition is important. And the resolution should not somehow take precedent or discourage members from somehow signing the discharge petition.
so help me understand.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want. You can have really relaxed, slow-paced stuff where you can take it easy. Or you could be on the edge of your seat, shaking, making split-second decisions. This is Eve. You know, it's a crazy universe where anything can happen, and however you want to do it, go for it.
I think we can. I think,
would the, excuse me, Mr. McGovern, would the gentleman yield a moment?
Yes.
We can. We certainly can do
Okay,
both.
well, let's do-
We'll pass this resolution here, and then if sufficient people sign the discharge petition, then it will come out. And it's my understanding there is a significant difference in the resolution that we have here and the Massey resolution, and that is this resolution demands disclosure, whereas the Massey resolution does not. So I think we can do both.
Yeah.
And let that happen. That we want to show that we want this done in a very important way.
Well, if we can do both, then why is the Rules Committee standing in the way of allowing, I'm going to have a vote on the Massey counter resolution. Well, why would Republicans of the Rules Committee block us from just bringing it to the floor? We could vote on both.
Because they've already started the discharge petition.
Well, that does,
They've already started it.
yeah, well, that's a nice, that's, whatever, that's, I don't even want to say what I'm thinking about that answer, but let me just ask, this is a yes or no question. Does the administration have the power to release the Epstein files with appropriate redactions to protect the victims and the survivors? Do they have the authority to do that?
I think so with the
Okay.
subpoena.
Yes.
All right, they do, but they're not. And, Mr. Comey, this resolution that is before us right now says that you're investigating mismanagement that led to Mr. Epstein's death. Who was the President of the United States when Mr. Epstein died in custody?
I would assume it would have been Trump.
Yeah. And I have another, just one last question. You referred to Ghislaine Maxwell as a terrible individual. And I guess the question is, maybe you can enlighten us, what have you done to investigate why Ms. Maxwell was moved to a minimum security facility? I mean, she's a convicted child predator, sent to prison. She testifies before some people in the administration. She didn't testify. She answers questions that are put forward by somebody in this administration. She basically says the president didn't do anything wrong, and then all of a sudden is moved to a minimum security facility. Are you going to do? Have you done a hearing on that? Are you doing a hearing on that?
We've subpoenaed Ms. Maxwell. She sent a letter via her attorneys and said that she requested that we wait for the deposition until after the Supreme Court rules on her appeal. We're hoping that's this month. So as soon as the Supreme Court rules on her appeal, we'll go in and do a formal deposition. So Mr. Garcia will be there. I'll be there if he wants to be there.
I'm not into.
And those questions can be asked. Those are legitimate questions.
Well, but I don't think Ms. Maxwell can answer those questions. I mean, I listened to some of her interview, and it sounded like there was no cross-examination. I'm just curious why, after she said what she said, was she moved? So it's not about Ms. Maxwell. It's about somebody made the decision to move her, which I don't think was expected. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be really clear. First of all, Democrats on the committee, we did not support moving Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony after the Supreme Court heard her appeal. In fact, that was a decision that the majority made that we did not support. We think that Ms. Maxwell, before she was interviewed by Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, should have been in front of a bipartisan committee in a deposition. And so, to be clear, and I think it's safe to say that it's an outrage and shameful that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a facility where she is now more comfortable and has more access to folks both on the outside and her ability to move freely, when she has victimized over hundreds and hundreds of women. And I'll add one more thing to that. We've written to the DOJ, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, demanding answers, yet no response from the Attorney General. We have no idea why she was moved and at whose direction was she moved to that facility.
But she was moved, and correct me if I'm wrong, by this current administration, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think...
I would think that, I mean, this is so outrageous that a big part of the investigation of your oversight committee should be on that as well. And I mean, I hope that you pursue that. But again, I think it is imperative that we pass the Massey kind of bill, because I think it does have the force of law, and because I don't trust this administration to basically. I mean, something's going on here. I don't know what, but there's a reason why everybody went from we're going to release the files one day to the next day saying we're not. So in the spirit of full transparency and the spirit of demanding that they do what they said they were going to do, I think I think we need to do more than what we're doing. Mr. Comer?
Yeah, I was just told by counsel, the documents pertaining to the move would fall under the Department of Justice subpoena. So I think that's a fair question that I'm confident if we don't ask it, Mr. Garcia will whenever we're.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this whole episode has been outrageous, and it's disgusting, and it's been strange, especially the way this Congress has dealt with it up to this point. And so some of us believe we ought to also pass the Massey kind of bill, and I hope that we will do that. And I hope my friends on the Rules Committee will allow us to offer it, because I'll bring it up as an amendment. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McGovern. Ms. Fishbach, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am confused because the Oversight Committee is trying to do the investigation, trying to get the information, trying to get it released. They have been working on it most of August.
Yes.
A significant part of August. So I am confused as to why the Democrats are opposing this, because you are doing it in the way that it should be done, not some resolution added, like the Democrats attempted to in Rules Committee in the middle of, well, it wasn't the middle of the night, in the evening. But instead, this is a thoughtful way that you are handling this, bipartisanly. And so I am just really confused about that. And I just want to say that I thank you for doing what you're doing, because we obviously need to figure this out in a respectful manner, so we are protecting those victims who don't want to be publicized. We're doing it in an organized manner so that things happen in a transparent manner. And we are going to, and my understanding is you are going to disclose and publish everything.
Everything.
Everything. And so I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but I just wanted to point out how confused I am about this, because this is just grandstanding and political theater.
Absolutely.
From the other side, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
We want to know. I want to know. If you look at the roster of the committee, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Smart founders know something most people miss. Get your domain name even if you're not ready to launch your business. With Wix, you can grab yours now and then get to work. Here's why it matters. Back in 2019, I had this killer business idea, but I delayed getting the domain name because I wasn't ready. That was a huge mistake. Someone else grabbed it, built the exact same business I planned, and now they're making all the money that I could have been making. And that's why I'm sharing this. Locking down your domain name is crucial, and on Wix, it's super fast. They handle all the tricky tech stuff for you, making it seamless. And honestly, having a domain name gives your idea instant credibility. A domain name isn't just a name, it's a way to claim your space and take your idea seriously. Because once it's taken, you're stuck paying a premier price for it or losing it. So go to Wix right now, search your idea. If the domain is available, grab it.
And other government officials, people in various departments of justice for decades, and name names, and nothing's been done. You know, the Biden administration had an opportunity to release the Epstein files, and they didn't do it. You know, you go back. I mean, this is something that we're committed to doing, and we want to do. I want to be able to say the Oversight Committee, this was a big investigation. The American people are watching. I want everything out and open. So, you know, we're trying to do it, and we're trying to be bipartisan, and hopefully my friends across the aisle, I think the majority of the Oversight Democrats are sincere and want to do this in a bipartisan way. Hopefully the Democrat leadership will let this be bipartisan and not play political games.
Thank you.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will yield.
I'm confused too about something that Mr. McGovern said, that 97% of what's been released was already public information. I'm not sure why that's negative, because they keep saying that, okay, 3% is new, but now it's all available to the public. Is that correct? Because maybe it was released to some people, but now it's released to everybody, right? So everyone can see it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the 3% is that hadn't been released before, whether it has any significance, but I'm confused, as the gentlewoman from Minnesota is confused as to why are they downplaying that, or why are they saying that's a waste of time?
I don't know. It's not. And, you know, I think all of us during August, if we went out and met with constituents, they were all asking about this. The American people want to know. They would like to, I've said this in a million interviews. They want to know, you know, who all was involved in the sex trafficking, what big names were taking advantage of those girls? And was the government involved? Those are the three questions, and I hope we'll be able to get as much information as possible. Look, this dates back, according to what we heard today from the victims, as far back as '96. So, you know, let's hope that there's still documents around. I've always had a huge distrust of the FBI and the Department of Justice under various administrations, and I've always had a theory that sometimes documents don't survive from one administration to the other. We're going to do everything we can to get that information, and I think this resolution's a step in the right direction. I don't think the other thing's needed.
I thank the lady for yielding.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, I just hope that the Democrats will stop the grandstanding and really, work on the bipartisan oversight committee and making sure that these things are dealt with. I think it's a disservice to all of the victims to not work and to pretend that this is somehow bad, but focus on it and make sure, I'm asking the Democrats, make sure that it's bipartisan. Make sure that you're doing what needs to be done, the disclosure's done and the investigation is done. Because this isn't something that should be about political points. This is about something that we should investigate. And so with that, I just hope that they would come with us and help with the Oversight Committee investigation.
Thank you.
With that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Ms. Scanlon, you're recognized.
And I would yield to Mr. McGovern for a minute.
I'm sorry there's so much confusion on the Republican side of the aisle. I don't understand why we're just not all demanding that the administration release all the files. And we could do that if we were able to vote on the Massey counter resolution. But apparently we can't do that. And forgive me if I'm just a little bit suspicious about all that's going on here, because I've been on this committee all year with all of you, and I have watched as we have weaved and dodged and avoided bringing anything to the floor dealing with this. And I've also, we began our August recess early because none of you wanted to take a vote and hold this administration accountable, and you ran out of town. So again, want to do something bipartisan? Maybe we all can join on a bipartisan appeal to this administration to find out why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a cushy facility after she exonerated Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. I mean, we've lived through the last several weeks as Republicans have tried to avoid dealing with this issue. And so I hope, and I trust that there's bipartisan cooperation on the Oversight Committee, and I want that investigation to move forward. But for the life of me, I do not understand why the administration, after promising to release all the files, has chosen not to. So that's what I'm confused about. I thank the gentlelady for yielding.
Thank you. Mr. Comer, I think in your introduction, just for folks who are trying to play catch up here, because there's a lot of details and a lot of names being thrown around, you said that one of the issues here is that the U.S. attorney who initially handled Mr. Epstein's case gave him a sweetheart deal. That's right, isn't it?
Was the initial U.S. attorney was who?
Well, you didn't name him, but it was Alex Acosta, right?
I don't know if he was the initial, but he was one of them. Yeah, he gave him,
So he was the U.S. attorney appointed by George Bush in
One of
Florida,
them,
whatever
yes.
district, and he's the one that gave the deal to Epstein, where he served a couple months, but basically got out on release every day, despite all the horrific crimes that we now know occurred. Okay, and in his later career, he became Secretary of Labor in the first Trump administration, right? And he had to leave after reporting disclosed this sweetheart deal. Is that right?
I don't know what caused him to leave, but.
Okay. It was about that time.
Okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, I know we've heard that you've received some materials. Are there redactions in those materials?
Yeah, there are appropriate redactions. We will be able to review the full materials. There'll be some opportunity to review the materials without some redactions from the committee staff and committee members that don't put any of the victims in harm's way. But there are some, again, the reality about the materials, though, is there's nothing really, with the files today, we know the DOJ has them. They're not answering our questions. We're asking when are we getting the rest of the files. We get no response. And to clarify one thing, Ms. Gallen, I think it was said earlier by another member of the committee that we're somehow opposing this resolution, or we're not opposing anything. We want full disclosure. If the majority wants to put together a resolution to add to more disclosure, that's fine. But that resolution should in no way supplant the discharge petition or serve as some kind of distraction to not get the full Congress on record to release all the files.
Okay. I mean, I guess I was asking about the redactions because there's been reporting that under Attorney General Bondi, hundreds.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life. Describe what you want and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one to platforms ready for many, from passion projects to enterprise-grade systems, everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality right now.
Have those been provided by DOJ?
We do have some explanation of some of the redactions, but there are no documents in what we have been presented that are of concern as it relates to redactions.
I'm just concerned because that is one of the pieces of the Massey underlying legislation, which is that to the extent the DOJ turned over any materials, it would have to explain any redactions or claims of privilege or whatever.
But that's important, certainly in future documents. So
Yes.
as more documents come forward, ensuring that that is a piece of it is going to be important.
And I guess going back to this issue of Ghislaine Maxwell getting this cushy assignment, my understanding is that when she was moved to this new facility, that was against Bureau of Prison regulations, and someone higher up from the White House or the Attorney General's office would have had to excuse that normal Bureau of Prison rule.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Just that I think that Republicans should join Democrats on the Oversight Committee and others in demanding answers as to why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved and who gave the orders to move Ghislaine Maxwell. We still don't know that answer.
I think that's an important part as well. And pleased to have been able to sign the discharge petition before we came up for this hearing. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon. Mr. Norman, you're recognized.
Thank both of you for coming. You know, I think what's interesting about this hearing, Mr. Governor, you've been kind of very critical of everything that's been going on here and about you need answers, and some of it we do need answers on. But the biggest, and you said things were outrageous and whatnot, you're, confused. What I'm confused about, you were elected to Congress in 1997, 28 years. You were chairman of this committee, the Rules Committee, from 2019 to 23. Now, if this is all of a sudden so important, when you as chairman, you had every right to bring up everything we're talking about now. What did we hear from you? Crickets. So that's the big confusion I have. And Representative Comer, the thing about political grandstanding, that's all this is.
Well, I didn't
and
write presidential campaign saying it was a release to Epstein files.
If I've got the floor, I recognize you, but we're not going to talk over each other. Have some decency. This is an anti-Trump. You're asking all these questions, who released Ghislaine Maxwell? When you had the opportunity, you didn't say one word. This is anti-Trump, and it's coming out for that. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. How many victims were interviewed today?
6.
And you think it's hundreds?
They said it was hundreds, like close to 1,000, but hundreds. It's what the attorneys for the victim, the attorneys were represented by 4, the victims were represented by 4 attorneys, and they said as many as 1,000.
Well, the process is moving forward. Discharge petition, and I don't mind having 2 tracks, but the bottom line is, Mr. Governor knows it has to go to the Senate. I don't know what they'll do with it, but it's going to take time. You're not waiting on anything.
No.
You're moving forward.
We're moving forward.
And like Chairman Fox said, everything's going to get released. Now, let me ask you this. Are the flight logs public information? Who flew on the planes?
Is it? Okay. Some are, but the estate subpoena should cover more of that.
We all know anybody that's, how far back would the flight logs? You can alter a flight log on an air. If you're flying on a plane, you can't.
Back to 1990.
Okay, 1990. We know people that were on that flight weren't going over there to have Bible studies.
Right.
They were doing other things. So we'll see, is your opinion, all the flight logs of whoever went, doesn't matter. That will be released.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know. I think everybody wants to know.
You hit it on the head, James. I mean, people want to know the names.
Yeah.
If a crime has been committed against thousands of women, young girls, this transcends politics. That's why I don't understand. The fact that you're politicizing this is not right. This transcends. This is young girls getting abused. So the fact that the flight logs will be released, we'll know the names of who flew over there. And then the public, I think that's the big name. If crimes have been committed, who did it?
Right.
And then let them face a trial, let them face a jury of peers. Now, I think Ms. Scanlon said the redactions by Attorney General Bondi contained things with President Trump. Now, what did you say, Representative Garcia? That was not right, correct?
I think, well, first, to be clear, I think the Attorney General herself has said that President Trump is in the Epstein files, to be clear. That's been reported. And as far as what redactions include the president, we don't have the files yet to know what those redactions actually are.
But when you get the files, y'all, both of you will ask the question, why were they redacted? Who did it? And as far as who put Ms. Maxwell in another prison, I assume that will come forward.
Well, and to be clear, our request has been to redact the names of the victims. There shouldn't be circumstances, nor would we support redacting the names of the perpetrators or anyone that actually committed the harm. And so that would not be our expectation. And so we think the full release of the files is important to check that work, of course.
Okay. So so it's not, nothing with President Trump has been redacted to your knowledge of what's been released so far?
If anything with President Trump's name has been redacted, it has not been, it's not something that's been in anything, it's not any new information. Okay. So that has not been presented to the public.
So this just further illustrates this is just a hatred of a president who has got support of 77 million people.
I mean, sir, it's the president.
We got that reggaeton. Today, we're going to be making beats you guys send me.
Protected my son's name. What I will say is we are looking at everything to shed light on what happened that day, and it is an ongoing and active investigation. Both of those cases, and I assure you they will be investigated. Investigating, we understand that, but will you do everything in your power, as you have done for my case, as you are asked to do, as you've sworn an oath to do? It is your responsibility to make sure that you are following the rule of law. Those families in Minnesota, they deserve the same respect. They deserve a full investigation, which you have not even begun to do yet. So what are you saying, is that they don't deserve any respect for a full investigation into their murders? Well, that is incompetence on your behalf. Well, that is not accurate. The American people do deserve better. Non-commitment to defending the rule of law is what we see from you. I will always stand up for survivors, and I heard you say earlier when you told us that you will fight for them as well. And based on the information before us, these families have not received the same commitment to investigate what happened to their loved ones, nor have they received the respect that I would expect from the nation's top law enforcement officer. Investigations have been slow-walked, they've been canceled, and the special agent assigned to Renee Good's investigation resigned following pressure from your officials to reclassify Ms. Good's case. For families seeking answers and accountability, the withdrawal of investigative resources is simply unacceptable.
Expired. The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from California is recognized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, I get the sense that we've lost a little perspective here. The most fundamental responsibility of government is to protect the lives and property of its citizens. Now, you cited some crime figures in your opening statement, and I wonder if you could repeat them, because I think it's one of the most extraordinary achievements of the Department of Justice in our history. And I don't think some of my colleagues heard you clearly.
Thank you, Congressman. And would you mind if I address something that
Go right ahead.
Congresswoman McBath wouldn't let me address first?
Go right ahead.
The reason that she wants to continue to talk about Minnesota, which we will all day long, is she doesn't want to talk about her own jurisdiction in Atlanta, because she doesn't want to talk about Christopher Welcher, who traveled across state lines to try to meet, and nothing's funny about this, to meet and molest a 14-year-old girl in Georgia. That's why they're watching the clock, the American people should know, for the second it runs out, because they don't want to address anything in their jurisdiction. They're elected to represent people in their jurisdiction. We prosecuted illegal aliens who ran a large-scale meth operation in the Atlanta metro area.
You understand we don't prosecute, right, Ms. Mondi?
Madam Attorney General.
On the law,
I'm sorry, thank you.
Mr. McClintock.
So yes, the statistics I spoke of earlier, Congressman, under the leadership of the FBI, historic work has been done. A drop 20% in the nationwide murder rate in 2025. Least murders in our country since 1900, and that is to the work because of the credit of Donald Trump.
It's not just homicides, is it? It's also other violent crimes, robbery. Could you go through that list real quick?
Yes, Congressman. 100% increase in violent crime arrest in 2025 compared to 2024.
What's that done to the violent crime rate in the country?
It's plummeting. 1,800 gangs.
Wait a second. Do you mean to honestly tell us, and you're under oath, that if we take violent criminals off the streets, we end up with less crime?
I certainly hope so, Congressman, and that's our goal, and that's
an extraordinary concept, and I'm afraid it may be lost on some of our Democratic colleagues. I look at these numbers, and they're absolutely staggering. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because of specific policies that you've implemented this year. And you mentioned a few of them. Would you continue?
Over 6,000 child victims located, 22% increase. Over 1,700 child predators arrested, 10% increase. Over 300 human traffickers arrested. Let me jump down to DEA right now. That was just FBI. Under Terry Cole's leadership, and I talk to these people almost daily, our directors, and the amazing work that they're doing in all of your jurisdictions on the left and the right, working together to take drugs off our streets.
Right. And I assume that our Democratic colleagues, some of whom represent some of our most crime-plagued cities and communities, have thanked you for this extraordinary accomplishment.
Thank you, Congressman. We've seized more than 9,800 kilos of fentanyl and 47 million fentanyl pills. That affects every single person in this room. It doesn't matter what political party you are. Everyone in this room knows someone who's died from fentanyl. A parent, a child, a sister, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, a relative. Everyone here knows someone who has been impacted by that. That is the common ground that I wish we could find to work together in this country, to take these drugs off the streets. And someone nodded with vapes.
Well, in your opening statement, you said that this historic success in protecting the lives and property of Americans has occurred when local governments have cooperated with you.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what are the greatest impediments you're facing in bringing down crime across the country?
Well, when local governments, of course, do not cooperate with us, and that's where criminals flee, in jurisdictions where they know they will be protected by local governments. And this is all about working together, and we have shown that in what we did in D.C., what we're doing in Memphis, working together with Democrat mayors in these cities right here in D.C.
And very quickly, if you could tell us about the Safe Cities program and give us your read on what cities that avail themselves of this program can expect?
Yes, so far, of course, we've been working in Washington, D.C., right here to do everything we can, working hand in hand with the mayor, with Metro PD, to keep everyone safe in DC, and it's been a tremendous effort. And now we're in Memphis, working with the mayor in Memphis, as we talked about earlier, doing everything we can. These are iconic cities in our country, and we want to help every city in this country who wants and asks for President Trump's help to make America safe again.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Chair, I have, you see.
let the record show that Democrat was applauding the Attorney General's answer there. The unanimous consent?
Yes, please.
All right, the gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I have a few unanimous consent requests. I would like to submit into the record this New York Times article titled "Alex Pretty's Friends and Family Denounce Sickening
Not
Lies
object.
About His Life." I also would like to submit this Daily Mail exclusive interview with Vice President J.D. Vance titled "J.D. Vance Refuses to Apologize to Alex Pretty's Family After Spreading ICE Assassin Claim." One more. My last submission request is a New York Times article titled "FBI Agent Who Tried to Investigate ICE Officer in Shooting Resigns."
Without objection.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, I think you and pretty much everybody else here and throughout the country believes that convicted sex offenders don't deserve special treatment or privileges in prison. And yet Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, received perk after perk in prison. In July, she had a 2-day interview with your deputy and President Trump's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche. Just days after that, Maxwell was transferred from a federal correctional institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas, which she, as a sex offender, would normally be ineligible for. At this new facility, as the ranking member talked about, and by the way, it's nicknamed Club Fed, we've heard reports that she's been afforded special privileges: puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman,
level.
please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand
And I'm glad that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things. But I want you to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question: who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but you know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple of
died
other
on a subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So of course we're moving back to you. It is all about you. So as we've heard, she took the fifth in response to every single question in that committee hearing. And her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison, yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good. I'm very glad. I really like this bipartisan agreement about
well, when
what
it
should
agrees
happen
with you,
her.
but you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You don't want to talk about
I talk about her
murdered
all
by
the
a
time,
violent crime
but
offender
I am not
in
here
your
to
jurisdiction.
testify before Congress. You are. That is your job today.
You're
That's what you're getting paid for.
obsessed with attack.
I want you to know that your own DOJ employee, he's recently been demoted and had some other problems, advises on pardons. Do you think he will be advising Mr. Trump on any kind of clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
I'm not going to speculate, and you couldn't even identify properly. That's why you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You couldn't properly identify her relative.
I absolutely
it's embarrassing.
Have been, and her family, by the way, appreciates all of the condolences, all of the help, everything that our law enforcement in North Carolina has been doing to help her family. Her family feels well treated. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article by former Attorney General William P. Barr entitled, "Why Pam Bondi Didn't Publish All the Epstein Files in 30 Days." The answer is simple. It was not possible, from the Wall Street Journal.
Well said. Without objection, the gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Madam, I'm sorry.
Yes.
May I respond 20 seconds to something that Congresswoman Ross said?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. She also opposed a sex offender registry as head of North Carolina ACLU. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Attorney General. And I'd like to pick up where you left off a moment ago, because we convene here today as a committee for the stated purpose of conducting oversight of the Department of Justice. And so it's critical for us to focus first on the mission of the department and assess your success in discharging it. So the mission of the department is to enforce federal law, defend the rule of law, and protect the American people from violent crime, terrorism, drug trafficking, fraud, and exploitation, to promote public safety. And what we have heard today unequivocally is that President Trump's Department of Justice, under your leadership, Attorney General Bondi, is doing exactly that. Just a moment ago, you shared with us some incredible statistics that the United States, under your leadership, has achieved the lowest murder rate in 125 years. That in the first year of this administration, murder is down 21%, robbery is down 23%, carjacking down 43%, and gun assault down 22%. That is what public safety looks like. Under your leadership and that of President Trump, you've located more than 6,000 child victims of trafficking and exploitation, arrested 1,700 child predators, and apprehended more than 300 human traffickers. Significant increases. And those aren't just statistics. Those are precious lives that your department and the men and women of federal law enforcement have saved. Madam Attorney General, you've mentioned a couple of specific criminal trends during this hearing that I'd like to discuss with you further, because one of our important roles in Congress is making sure that our laws and our law enforcement stay ahead of predators as technology evolves. I lead legislation in the House, along with bipartisan co-sponsors on this committee, to make sextortion a clearly defined criminal offense. We actually passed that out of the House of Representatives. We have a bill to promote Operation Renewed Hope, to help rescue more child victims, and the Defiance Act to provide legal recourse to victims of deepfake AI intimate images. I would love to hear your perspective and what you are seeing related to these technology-based criminal trends, sextortion and AI deepfakes. What are you seeing at the Department of Justice, and why do you believe that efforts to combat these types of crimes are important?
Sextortion, and thank you for supporting that, Congresswoman. I think that was a bipartisan effort, actually. I think many of you on both sides of the aisle supported that. Thank you for that. You know, As a career prosecutor, it's horrible seeing that and seeing that young women and often young boys have been exploited with sextortion. And I see, thank you, both sides of the aisle nodding on that. It's horrific. The suicide rates go up, and that's why we have to do everything in our power to protect not only young girls, adult women, boys and men from sextortion, because it is happening and we're doing everything in our power, thanks to your legislation, all of you, to stop that.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about some of the Department of Justice programs like Project Safe Childhood and the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Forces, partnerships that bring together federal, state, and local law enforcement. Sometimes the work between those law enforcement groups together really creates some incredibly powerful outcomes and some great success stories. I know you, as Florida's Attorney General, had a tremendous amount of leadership in our state trying to make sure we were taking care of children, also the elderly, protecting them from fraud, ending drug trafficking. Tell us a little bit about some of those departments within DOJ.
Yeah, when you talked about Project Safe Neighborhoods, we've done a lot of that in Florida when I was state AG, and actually back when I was a state prosecutor prior to being Attorney General. That is so important. I feel like what we've been doing in D.C. too, with the Take Back D.C. and Make D.C. Safe Again, is similar to that. Going into the neighborhoods, working with the community, seeing law enforcement officers out there playing basketball with kids who live in the neighborhood. It's pretty remarkable what we've seen firsthand. Citizens in Memphis saying that they appreciate, they can walk outdoors now and they feel safe. People coming up thanking law enforcement and working hand in hand with them. We will continue all of these programs and working jointly with both sides of the aisle to keep our families safe.
Thank you for that, Madam Attorney General. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce for the record a letter to Director Gabbard from Mr. Warner and Mr. Himes, and a letter of response from her to them about who invited her to Atlanta, and a copy of the search warrant. And I'd also like to just make clear for the record, the reason people in Memphis weren't going out was because the ice was on the ground and we were afraid we'd fall. But other than that, we go out all the time.
Gentlemen, without objection, there's unanimous consent. The gentlelady from Vermont is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney General Bondi, according to your department, a child is sexually abused in the United States every 9 minutes, and the vast majority of survivors never get justice. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Epstein case has resonated so deeply with so many Americans. And the other reason, I think, is because it has revealed a two-tiered system of justice. And the powerful are protected, and the survivors rarely get any accountability. And the Epstein files contain evidence of a multi-decade international criminal conspiracy involving some of the wealthiest and the most powerful people in the world. There's evidence of financial crimes, political corruption, sex trafficking, and of course, horrible sexual abuse. And I want to remind everybody, this isn't a game. These are real people, people who have suffered, who are sitting here with us today, and they deserve answers, and they deserve accountability. And I'm here to try to get some for them. Now, I've seen some of the unredacted Epstein files, and obviously, as you know, President Trump's name is all over them, but so are the names of other senior Trump officials: Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce; John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy; and Stephen Feinberg, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These men were appointed by President Trump to senior positions in his administration. All of them have clear and confirmed ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Bondi, yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Excuse me. Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know whether he has addressed those or not.
Has Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Epstein
Okay,
instead
I'm
of a
reclaiming
Border
my
Patrol
time.
agent
I'm asking
murdered.
you not a trick question, a simple
Stunned.
question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
What does ties mean?
I can conclude
What does
from what
ties
you are
mean?
saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean? Can
I
you
think
define
Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world,
Can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace, and that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace is
standard,
not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president
he?
aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask
was
questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
This
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic.
beautiful
This is
state.
pathetic, Mr.
Committee will
Chair.
be in order.
I am not asking trick questions here.
You
The
got your
American
5
people have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell. By 2008, we knew that Epstein was a convicted sexual abuser. And we now know that Lutnick went to Epstein's Island in 2012. How was that not a deal breaker for the president? And why aren't you asking questions of the Commerce Secretary about what he saw when he was at the island, which he lied about not ever going to? Why are you not asking these questions? And I see that my time is almost expired, so I will say this. Do the right thing, Attorney General. Meet with the survivors. They have been asking for a year. Meet with the survivors. Do the right thing. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
May I have 20 seconds of his time?
So that'd be up to the gentleman, but.
Absolutely, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. I was curious if you, Congresswoman, asked Bill Clinton that. Didn't see one tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once when he was.
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
from the
is
river
Jewish. I just
wanna be clear.
Oh, do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are
Time
you
belongs to the
serious?
gentleman
Talking
from
about
South
anti-Semitism
Carolina.
to a woman who
Lady
lost her grandfather in the Holocaust?
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time.
Really?
The committee will be in order.
Talk to Jared Wise about anti-Semitism.
The ranking member knows that.
Can I get like 30 seconds back, you know?
Yeah, I've been,
Ballant took
I think
30
the
of
whole
mine.
committee knows I've been very
All right,
generous in
thank you.
making sure everyone gets their 5 minutes in the
Attorney
same.
General, I'm going to talk about sanctuary cities for a second, which limit the federal government's ability to enforce immigration law. They're kind of a new thing that Democrat jurisdictions are doing. They're in violation of federal law. During President Trump's first term, he rightly targeted sanctuary jurisdictions to try to force them to cooperate with federal immigration law. Federal immigration law, mind you, that was voted on in 1996, most recently, in a bipartisan Congress, signed by a Democrat president. But they are in violation of that law. These states and jurisdictions feel entitled to certain grants, of course. Y'all are combating that. Do sanctuary policies limit the federal government's ability to accurately estimate how many criminal illegals are in the country?
Yes.
Thank you. This means that the number of illegals could be higher, probably higher. Does this hurt the federal government's ability to carry out immigration laws designed by Congress?
Yes, Congressman.
In your opinion, do you believe that the Biden-Harris administration and Democrat pro-sanctuary policies make our communities safer and for the American taxpayer? Do sanctuary policies make our communities safer?
No, Congressman.
I want to do a brief video to highlight sanctuary cities. So what's strange to me, if you look at this board behind me, in New York, there are 7,000 criminal illegal aliens since January 20th of last year that have been released into the public because New York is not honoring detainers requested by ICE. California, similarly, has released 4,500 criminal illegal aliens. There are 33,000 under detainer in California alone. And of the people released, I think it's remarkable that those released in New York, 29 homicides, 2,500 assaults, almost 200 burglaries. These are people that are released into our community by these states that refuse to cooperate. Last August, Michael Jordan Castellano Fonseca, a criminal illegal alien with ties to Tren de Agua, shot 2 people in front of 5 children in the sanctuary state of Colorado. DHS lodged a detainer on him. He's awaiting trial, but the question is whether Colorado's sanctuary policies will prevent him from being removed from the country. Yes or no? Do you think that sanctuary jurisdictions, if they cooperated with ICE, those illegals in custody could be transferred to ICE properly instead of being held in taxpayer-funded jails and then released into our community?
Yes, Congressman.
Wouldn't it be more efficient and safer then if Democrats simply cooperated with the federal government, these sanctuary jurisdictions cooperated with the federal government and honored ICE detainers? And why? Why do you think?
Of course, because so many criminals are running to sanctuary jurisdictions. Many of your colleagues across the aisle who we've seen speaking today about Epstein don't want to talk about the illegal criminals in their own jurisdiction for that reason. And yes, we need to do everything we can to work together to make America safer, and they're not doing that.
This is not a partisan issue. People want to feel safe in their communities. Nobody wants a criminal illegal alien released into the street. I think the thing that maybe the American people don't quite understand is that when you do not honor a detainer, as we've seen, an illegal is released into the public, and now it's up to ICE to maybe apprehend them, rather than behind the courtroom passing them off from one law enforcement to the next. Is that true?
Absolutely.
What do you think what is the Department of Justice doing right now to combat sanctuary policies in our country?
We're doing everything in our power, obviously, to combat that. Donald Trump is doing everything he can because we are going to make America safe. We are going to get illegal criminal aliens out of this country. We're going to get the gangs out, TDA, MS-13, all of the gangs in this country. We're going to get the drug dealers out and the drugs, and that's what we've been fighting to do. And I wish we could do it on a bipartisan basis, but they just can't do it.
And the decrease in numbers speak for themselves. Thank you for your work.
Gentleman's time is...
Mr. Chairman, we have some UCs, if that's okay.
That is okay.
Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. You see on the National Institute of Justice's study on undocumented immigrants having an offender rate lower than U.S.-born citizens. I'd like to enter this into the record from 2024.
Without objection.
And I have several myself, Mr. Chairman. The Guardian, January 26, 2026, why is Trump granting clemency to convicted fraudsters?
Objection.
January 20, 2026, NBC, Trump's pardons forgive financial crimes that came with hundreds of millions of dollars in punishment.
Objection.
Washington Post, December 19, 2025, Trump's pardons wipe out payments to defrauded victims.
Without objection.
And finally, May 30th, 2024, Trump found guilty by Manhattan jury on 34 felony counts of fraud.
Without objection. The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, glad you finally made it here after hiding for 4 months from this committee. I understand
Whoa,
why
I thought
you're
you were
hiding from us.
Chairman?
You're one of the worst attorney generals in our history and an instrument of Donald Trump's lawless authoritarian agenda, and I'm glad the American people are seeing who you are, how you act, and the lack of good values. You weaponize the Department of Justice to target immigrants, working families, and anyone that Trump deems an enemy of the state, all to protect real powerful criminals, including in your administration. My Democratic colleagues have focused on your cover-up of the Epstein files and your passion for protecting pedophiles and child traffickers. That alone is grounds for impeachment. But there's so much more to your corrupt tenure as Attorney General. You directed prosecutors to investigate elected officials in welcoming jurisdictions, and you got thrown out of court when you sued Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. You directed prosecutors to prioritize low-level immigration cases while gutting enforcement against corporate criminals and public corruption. You revived draconian
You're
law
talking
of
about public corruption to
1798,
me? Whoa.
which should be repealed to illegally send people to a torture prison in El Salvador. You fired over 100 immigration judges, including the assistant chief immigration judge in Chicago, without cause, and installed unqualified military judges whom you instructed to deny asylum in violation of the law. You prosecute the president's enemies like Jim Comey and Tish James while giving impunity to federal agents who are murdering and brutalizing and terrorizing constituents, including in Chicagoland, in my neighborhood. I saw it last year firsthand. You and Kash Patel covered up the murder of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez in my district by ICE agents. You tried to investigate Renee Good instead of the ICE agent who murdered her, and you tried to cover up the murder of Alex Peretti by CBP agents. You bring fake charges against protesters like the Broadview Six and Marimar Martinez, whom your administration labeled a domestic terrorist. This is the Montessori teacher who lives in my district, while protecting thugs who terrorize us and DHS authority. That's what you do. Protect and enable the criminals who are plundering our society and destroying what's left of democracy and the rule of law. Epstein accomplices, mass DHS thugs, corporate criminals, Tom Homan, Eric Adams, insurrectionists, the list goes on. And you talk about fighting crime, but you protect any criminal who helps you and Trump turn our country into an authoritarian gangster state. And after all this, nobody supports you. I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about conservative judges who are condemning the rampant lawlessness at DOJ under your leadership. Your prosecutors are quitting in droves over being forced to prosecute low-level immigration cases, including in Chicagoland. Your MAGA base despises you because you're covering up the Epstein file. How ironic. And even your own boss has repeatedly complained to your staff about you, calling you weak and ineffective. Weak and ineffective. That's what Donald Trump thinks of you already. You will not win, however. Chicagoland rejects you. The American people reject you. Our communities have demonstrated our strength and resilience in the face of cruelty and cowardice. Democrats must impeach and remove lawless officials like you and Kristi Noem and impose accountability for every criminal action. But you can spare yourself more humiliation. Resign now and submit yourself to accountability by the American people. Mr. Chairman, before I yield back, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record this Wall Street Journal article dated January 12, 2026, entitled, "Trump has complained about Pam Bondi repeatedly to aides." Thank you, and I yield back.
Objection. Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I thank the chairman.
May I have 20 seconds, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's hear the opposition research.
Thank you. That's absolutely right, that they're not running for, he's not running for office again because, well, I don't know why you're not running for office again, but after the filing deadline, you publicly announced you would not run when your chief of staff, Patty Garcia, announced and took your seat.
That's
I
a
believe
state matter.
Democrats
That
got
isn't a
angry
federal
about
matter. You
that as
should
well.
investigate crime.
When the fuck did this get unplugged?
Yo, okay, there we fucking go. What the fuck? That shit was dumb. I don't know what happened. Oh, stupid as fuck. Yeah, I know. I have it popped up on my screen. But, yeah, I don't know why it was doing that. But that's mad annoying, because I've been talking this entire fucking stream. Cuzzo, you still here? Oh, bet. What are you up to? Yeah, no, this shit is so fucking dumb. Hold on, let me turn this shit down. But I thought I had everything up and running, like everything was good, and then I fucking started watching this shit, and then initially everything froze, and then from it fucking freezing, it froze. I started it back up, but then I guess like some of the shit was fucked up. Don't get me started. But shit, was y'all was able to hear the live broadcast though, right?
Time belongs to the gentleman from
of the law.
Texas. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas.
And a little flexibility in
Okay,
the time.
cool.
I appreciate the chairman.
Well, I mean, shit, that's the
Madam
most
Attorney General,
important part.
am I
really.
correct that under your leadership, the Department of Justice...
I just wanted to like get this shit out there because I feel like not a lot of people are like invested in this enough. Like, this is some world-shattering shit that's going on right now. I haven't played any games today, but I do play video games on stream.
But it's true, for example, that in just this month, a federal grand jury in Newark indicted 2 men with illegally voting in federal election and making false statements. Mohammed Mazamal and Mohammed Shakil were non-citizens at the time they registered to vote. This happens regularly, and you're prosecuting those crimes, correct?
Yes. That's why I chose
But
to
does
stream
that
this.
prosecution of those criminals overturn their previously cast votes?
That's all pending.
But it does not overturn votes that they've cast, right? So passing the Save
no,
America
Congressman.
Act would help deal with that problem.
Yes, Congressman.
Second question. As Attorney General, you're in charge of the Executive Office of Immigration Review, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
The Biden-Mayorkas regime caused the immigration court case backlog to explode, correct?
Explode.
Does that
Nah,
sound
I
about
don't
right that in
have that
September of
by daylight.
2020, 4 months before President Biden took office, there was a backlog of 1.5 million cases, but by the time President Biden left office, the backlog reached nearly 4.2 million cases?
It sounds about right, but I don't have the exact numbers.
It would be accurate to say that most individuals who file for asylum have a meritless or fraudulent claim?
Most. I don't have the numbers.
Oh, so does it sound correct that of the asylum cases adjudicated in FY 2023 under the Biden regime, that only 14% resulted in an asylum grant and only 12% in fiscal year 2024? Does that sound correct?
It sounds correct. I'm sorry, I don't have the
And it's
numbers.
weird because like
Could you
the
get that
lights and
information
shit
to
were
us
on.
to
Yes,
verify
absolutely.
that?
I'll get all that
connected to
information
something
to you.
completely different.
Under the Trump administration, immigration judges complete an average of 65,000 cases per month, the highest average completion rate in at least a decade. Does that sound correct?
That sounds correct.
Ms. Bondi, how many new cases under EOIR received in fiscal year 2025 have you all had? And of those, what percentage have been granted asylum? Do you know?
I can try to get you those numbers. I thought I had those.
That'd be great, because my question is whether President Trump's decision to pause asylum in the wake of the shooting of a National Guardsman by an Afghani here in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, helped to stop the backlog in your office. Does that sound correct?
Yes, Congressman.
My point being that the leadership of this administration is ending the backlog, reducing the backlog, making sure that we don't have fraudulent asylum claims clogging it, and keeping Americans safe. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So a couple other quick questions on another important topic that has been raised by colleagues on both sides of the aisle with respect to the Epstein case. A few questions. One, Jeffrey Epstein was charged in July 2019 for sex trafficking under the Trump administration in his first term. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman.
And that Ghislaine Maxwell was charged in 2020 also under the Trump administration, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So it is safe to say that the administration led on that issue and that there was silence in the previous administration. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman, almost complete silence from everyone who's been trying to still talk about Epstein. They didn't say a word under the Biden administration, nothing.
And I want to make one other point and then another question, though, that is important. I want to make one observation, and that is that we've heard the information today, which is troubling, that Jane Doe's, that victims' information was made public and was unredacted in the files that were released on Friday. So my question is, some of us had argued when we were dealing with the discharge petition in Congress that when Congress inserted itself into the process, that we needed to be very careful to ensure that we were protecting victims. So a question that is both, I just want to make that clear that some of us were fighting for that here and we didn't get a chance to amend it or change it. So that was concerning. But a question a little more pointed, I have to say, is why, though, were the victims' names released that shouldn't have been? That there were names in the files, that these Jane Does, that their names shouldn't have been made public, when there were some accusers whose names were redacted? That's question one. And question two was that Ghislaine Maxwell was put in jail for trafficking minors. Rightly so, and you properly said here at this table, you hope she dies in jail. Well, I want to know, will anyone besides her or Epstein, which I congratulate President Trump's previous administration and this Department of Justice for continuing all of that, but that they were indicted, but will anyone else be indicted and prosecuted under this, given the information that's in front of us? So two questions.
Thank you for letting me answer that. They didn't want to hear my answer on the other side. Yes, given the tight time frame of 30 days, I believe we got everything released within a little over 60 days. I'm talking as fast as I can. My time is up. We did the best we could immediately. If everyone's been coming to view the documents, if someone's name should not have been redacted, we're releasing it. If someone's name was redacted, we said right away, was not redacted and should have been, meaning a victim. We went back and redacted it. We're doing everything we can based on the tight time frame and over 3 million pages that we released that Donald Trump signed for pure transparency. Second, what was your second question?
About whether another individual will be indicted.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. And they never wanted to hear the answer to that. We have pending investigations in our office.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
All right.
Unanimous consent.
That's enough. I'm tired of giving that. Wait a minute. There's a lot of shit going on.
Hey man,
There's
what's the best advice
shit.
you can give someone that's in sales?
The DOJ.
Switch to Monday CRM. Oh,
There was
awesome.
one earlier that I clicked on about the Clintons, but the Clintons don't testify until
catastrophic to the country.
I think like the 27th or like 26th. This said Trump impeachment.
Okay. Mr. Glissino, I have a question for you. So as far as trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, this always hurts me to say this, but Houston, Texas is in my district, and it is the worst city in the country for sex trafficking in the country. I just cannot believe that. What is the FBI doing amongst other agencies? You just happen to be sitting here in front of me. And Madam Secretary, you can probably jump in on this too. Enough's enough. I understand the complexities of
Enough is fucking
the World
enough.
Wide Web and how these bastards are doing this.
You
They
got
can't seem to
people
grab a hold of them.
who touch kids running the fucking world, and
what's the
nothing's
answer?
happening to them. Like, this shit is fucking crazy.
Our
and
HSI
sickening.
investigators specialize in child trafficking and human trafficking. They get up every single day and hunt down
Let's
those
get to the game.
individuals.
I gave this stuff enough attention. Yes, I answered your question like 5 minutes ago. Ooh. Let's run some Arc Raiders, baby. Call me the Goop Goblin. Give me the goop. 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 I said I help people get out of solar contracts. But I am turning streaming into my main profession. I do not like working for people. I do not like having people having control over my employment status. I do not like clocking in hours for somebody else's dream. I'd rather invest into myself and clock in for myself. I just answered it right now. Like literally right now. Is my mic is still there. I was literally just re-answering it. Why all the lies? Bro, what the fuck is going on with this stupid ass shit? Everything just acting dumb today, huh? Oh, I ain't plug it in. I'm not interested. I do not need any graphics designs. I get messages about that all the time. I'm not interested. My page is exactly how I want it to be. Shit, I've been playing Arc Raiders low key since it came out. I feel like I don't know everything, but I know a decent amount about it. What level am I? I'm level 37. Yeah, it's real easy to get used to. It's just the lobbies, and you need a headset for sure for this game, so you can oh well, you can show me your work and I'll be honest about it. It's just I get messages from bots all the time asking to asking them if they could show me their work, and then ask me if I'm interested, and I'm not at all. My page is exactly how I want it to be, but you can show me your work. But yeah, it's not hard to get used to at all. You just need a headset to communicate to the other players, like to let them know like if you're friendly or not. For the most part, lately the servers I've been in have been very friendly, but when you're running a full squad, that's when you start to get to the PvP. Oh well, that's great to know. Thank you. Like I said, you can send it and I'll give you my honest opinion. Hey, I'm not expecting all of that. Sheesh. All right, let's lock in. What's up, Lil Darius? Invited me to a party. Nigga, what you invite me to a party for? And this. Give me one sec, Lil Darius.